Capricorn and Taurus and Virgo. Welcome to your horoscopes for the Taurus new moon. This is a break in the waves. You'll find the timestamps for your rising sign listed below. Hello Capricorn, welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Now, before we get into the reading, I wanted to invite you to a little ritual that I'm hosting on Zoom. So in 2 weeks, on June the 4th, I believe, at the Sagittarius full moon, I'm going to be engaging in a little bit of storytelling. I felt that it was kind of important for me to share with you a little more about my past and what has led me to this point in time right now, why I am so encouraged by the kind of work that I'm engaging in now and the journey that it took me to get here. Sagittarius for me rules my 10th house of my career and my public self. So I thought it might be really lovely to be bold and honest and inviting and optimistic for what's to happen next. There'll be a bit of storytelling and then we'll all sort of virtually hold hands and engage in the full moon ritual together. So if that sounds like something that you'd like to do, there's a link I think in the description box below that you can click and register your attendance, and you'll be sent a Zoom link. So let's get into the reading for this Taurus new moon, because it's going to be, I have such a lovely feeling about this one, I've got to say, my Capricorn rising friends. This is a moment of opportunity. I think for the last 18 months or so, we've been experiencing these power outages in Taurus and in Scorpio. Now, if you're a Capricorn rising, that's your 5th house of your individual self-expression and your 11th house, your responsibilities and your commitment to community and a sense of fellowship. And so I think over the last 18 months, there's been a real sense of turbulence in these two houses for you. Around eclipse time, we've talked about the idea of like a surge of energy or an absolute shedding of the old ways, the old systems that our lives used to operate under. At this lunation, though, the sun and the moon are further enough away from the dragon's head at 28 degrees of Taurus, one of the final decans of the sign. Sorry, the final degrees of the sign, the last decan. The dragon's head is long gone. You know, it's down at 3 degrees, I think, of Taurus. So it's farther enough away not to be affected by this. There's no threat of it being gobbled up. And so at a new moon, we get to initiate ourselves into the next round of what we wish and hope to see have happen in that area of our life. So I'll say it again. Taurus rules your 5th house, Capricorn rising. This is your sense of individual expression, how you relate to the world around you, how you see it, and how you create from that perspective, what you make of it, how you express it. Taurus is all about beauty and comfort and the pleasures of life. The finer things in life is what Taurus is really concerned with. And so at this moment of initiation, after the turbulence, after perhaps the limitation in that part of your life, we're stepping into a period of time where you have access to this. Now, there's going to be one more eclipse in this house in October. There's going to be the final lunar eclipse in Taurus, because this lunation will be taking place at the beginning of the sign, so close to the dragon's head. So it's like now we have a greater sense of autonomy over the thing. We have access to it. We can hope and we can dream on this new moon. We can call in what we wish to see have happen in this part of our life. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to show you the tarot card for the final decan of Taurus, the last wedge of the sign. That's the 7 of Pentacles. And in this card, I see someone that has been waiting very patiently. They've been doing everything that they thought they needed to do. They've been going through the systems and processes, the appropriate processes, in order to evolve, in order to grow and to flourish. And they're waiting and they're thinking to themselves, perhaps they've done the wrong thing, or perhaps they're not good at this, or they've made a mistake in some way. But I think that this card always shows up in a reading to remind us to be patient, and that good things take time, and good things come to those who are able to wait for them. And it kind of feels like you've been waiting so patiently and been doing a whole bunch of really beautiful, important work to get to this point where you can express yourself from a place that is of pure honesty. So I'm looking forward to this one for you, Capricorn. It feels like it's very well deserved. It really does. In conjunction with this new moon, however, there is a tryst happening between three really bulshy, vibrant planets. The first one is Jupiter. So Jupiter, the planet that expands, remember the big gas giant that it is, wherever Jupiter journeys in our birth chart, they bring with it a sense of optimism, but also like a magnifying glass where they zoom in on the thing and they're like, okay, this is what we've got to work with. How can we make it happen? So Jupiter has just entered your fifth house of self-expression and of creativity. But at 0 degrees of Taurus, there is also Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And so fixed sign to fixed sign, 90 degrees apart exactly, at two very poignant points of the zodiac. The 0 degree point is always a place of remark. Things happen at 0 degrees of any sign. There's a square, there's a pressure, there's a push and a pull. The day after this lunation, on the 21st of May, Mars, the planet of fire and aggression and confidence and passion, leaves Cancer and enters Leo, another fixed sign. And so at 0 degrees, there's an opposition of Mars and Pluto. And think about that for a moment, these two sort of warriors that destroy in order to create space for new things to grow. And Jupiter, so it's like a right angle triangle that's going on between these three planets. And the tarot cards that speak to each of these points are the 5 of Pentacles. So this is Jupiter in your 5th house of self-expression. Okay, so with this card, we can kind of get a feeling or a sense of like not being enough, of being ostracized, of being sort of shut out from some sense of community or some sense of warmth. You can see these pentacles here on this stained glass window look really warm and golden and glowing, don't they? But that feels like we're being shut out from this, that we're not invited. These two figures here are considering themselves a bit destitute, a bit unwelcome. Very interesting to have Jupiter here now, to be like, what? No, hold your horses. Why do you feel unwelcome here? Why do you feel that you're not enough? Why do you feel that you can't express yourself in the way that you admire other people expressing themselves in the ways that they do? So this is Taurus, Jupiter in Taurus. Pluto in Aquarius is the 5 of Swords. So this feeling of dropping the chop. For you, Aquarius rules your 2nd house, which is your access to money and stability and security, and how you grow, how you accrue and grow. And so I like this card because the swords do represent our thoughts in the tarot, don't they? And Pluto, with this card, you can see that these two characters here have just dropped everything. They're like, nah, we're out of here. Forget it. I'm not playing this game anymore. Mars in Leo is the 5, another 5 of Wands. And this feels like preparation. This feels like skill development to me. And so Leo, for you, is your 8th house. This is where we come into sacred bond with other people. It's where we learn how to grieve. It's where our resources are connected with somebody else's as well. And so you can see this push and pull between a sense of autonomy, Pluto rewriting the script about how you take care of yourself, and also your 8th house, Mars is present, and this kind of preparation. This is how I'm going to engage in collaboration from now on. This is how I choose to devote my energy and my love and my time and my inevitable grief for other people. This is what I'm investing in. And perhaps it's quite different to the way that things used to be. But it's being aided and abetted. This departure of mental sparring and this magical preparation is aiding Jupiter in your 5th house, inviting you back into that space, inviting you back in so you can feel welcome enough to express yourself, to create, to go on a journey, you know? I really like this for you, Capricorn. I think that this moon, as maybe confronting as some of this might be as well. I mean, I'm looking at these cards and I've said it before, but it's 5, 5, and 5. 555 is change. If ever you see 5, if it's 5:55 on the clock, or even if your phone battery is at 55%, you know, if you're driving and there's someone with a license plate that's 555, a phone number on a billboard that ends in 555, if ever you see it and make note of it and go, oh, it's recurring numbers, remember from now on that means change, that things are going to change. This new moon in Taurus feels like the beginning steps, the initiation of great change in our lives. Some of it might be a bit confronting. On a global scale, to have Pluto and Mars in opposition in Aquarius, the sign of the humanitarian, and Leo, the sign of the lion, you know, you can sort of paint a picture of what might start to occur, what we might be sort of met with as a group. But in your chart, in your individual experience, Capricorn, this is the story that I'm telling you, and I hope that you can feel kind of like excited for it, that it's something that piques your interest, that you've got things in life to look forward to, things just about to happen, about to start to move. There are decisions that are being made for you, Capricorn, that you can like step into, choices that you're making that are going to aid your individual sense of self, your individual expression, your perspective on life, on spirituality, on creativity. It's a beautiful moon for you. There is going to be one more eclipse in your 5th house, as I said, in October. And so consider this one as sort of like the calm before the final storm, or the reprieve before the final crescendo of the story. Jupiter they spend about a year in each sign. So it's 12 years ago was the last time that Jupiter was in Taurus. So think back to your life maybe 12 years ago, around the year 2011, and think about what was showing up for you, what was becoming clear about your self-expression. How were you creating, and how were you considering yourself, your life, from your standpoint alone? Did you feel a sense of confidence there? Did you feel that you were sort of like in a good place and you felt really juicy and you felt really inspired? Or was there a blockage there that Jupiter was trying to dislodge? And so what did you learn back then in 2011 that you can bring forward with you into this space right now? I'm going to pull a couple more little tarot cards and then we'll call it a night, I think, Capricorn. I just got a shiver. I think actually that's probably, I just need that one card. I've been reading there's lots of cards on the table already, and I think as much as they're the same cards for every sign, that's the beauty of storytelling. The story is different for everyone depending on what house. The final card that I got is the Ten of Swords. This is the end of a very difficult mental cycle. Swords are our thoughts, the swords are the truth. 10 is the ultimate. It's no further numbers after 10 in the tarot. And so this is the end of a mental struggle. In the back of this card, you can see that pink sunrise. The sun is rising again, as it always does. Sun sets, the sun rises. So take this moment, take this new moon in Taurus as a moment of kind of recognizing the end of something. Perhaps it's the end of this round of self-critical thinking, and feel the kind of boldness and the freshness that this new moon is offering, and feel the inspiration that it hopes to bring you. That's your reading, Capricorn. I love you very much. Thank you for being here with me as always. You can get your birth chart read by me at umaruby.com. If you'd like a tarot reading, you can choose the witch reading and I'll read your cards for an hour. You can tip me at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. And if you'd like to join me in ritual on the 4th of June, so in about 2 weeks, for the Sagittarius full moon live on Zoom, then register your place at the gathering. I'd love to have you there. I'll speak to you very soon, Capricorn. You take it easy. I'm going to be releasing horoscopes for the Sag full moon too, so if you can't make the ritual, don't worry. You'll still get a little message from me. Lots of love. Take care. Hello, Taurus rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere, with me down in the southern part. So welcome. Before we go anywhere though, I did want to take this opportunity to invite you to ritual. In 2 weeks from now, there's going to be a full moon in Sagittarius, and I've decided that I want to host a live full moon ritual on Zoom. Sagittarius for me rules my 10th house of my career and my public face. And so I thought that it really kind of pertinent at this point in our relationship to maybe delve with you a little deeper into my history, where I've come from as a creator, as a person, as an artist, and what led me to this point in time right now where I feel that the language of the tarot and of astrology is so important in my life and in my work. We're going to be talking about that, and we're also going to be engaging in a full moon ritual together. I think that I've got it listed as like it's going for 2 hours. You don't have to stay for the whole time, but it's on a Sunday, so it's in the afternoon here in Australia. So if you've got the time, I'd love to have you along. You can register. There's a link in the description box below, I think, for that ritual. So you can click on that, register your attendance, and I'll send you a Zoom link for you to come and join us. Okay, so with that out of the way, I want to get this horoscope begun, because this is a portal, I think, Taurus. All of this eclipse energy that we've been grappling with over the past 18 months in your first house of the soul, yourself, your center, and your 7th house of your relationships, of the other, in Scorpio. This has been a cross to bear, and it's been, I imagine, fairly turbulent. But this time, this lunation, this new moon in Taurus, is going to feel a little bit more like 2 years ago. So May of 2021, I think, was the last time that there was a lunation in Taurus that wasn't affected by an eclipse. The dragon's head is farther enough away from this lunation that there's no fear of it being gobbled up. And so we can consider it as a night of initiation and a night of ritualistic work that we can ask for what it is that we hope to have happen in our first house, our house of the self. Who are you now, Taurus, as opposed to who you were before? And what do you wish to develop? And what do you wish to work upon and grow in this beautiful, vibrant, fertile time. It's lovely to have a new moon in the season at the very end, because the next day the sun will be moving into Gemini and we'll say goodbye to Taurus season for another year. But it's nice that we get to have this wish, this spell work right before the season ends. And it's looking quite gorge. I wonder if there's a couple of things that I want to talk about very specifically and very quickly. If you're around my age, so if you were born in 1984, the early part of 1984, you might be experiencing a conjunction with your natal Chiron placement. My Chiron is at 28 degrees of Taurus. And so we know that the Chiron placement represents, highlights a part of our life where we have some latent unconscious wounding that we might need extra help with, or it's a part of our lives where we consistently feel that it is causing us pain. And so it's our beautiful opportunity to delve a little bit deeper and to sort of really look at that point and work out strategies to heal that with ourselves and in the company of others, other healers, and I would dare say a little bit of counseling by a professional too. So the Chiron wound in Taurus is that of lack or of loss, the wound of loss, the wound of not having quite enough. So if you're, as I said, born in 1984, there might be an extra special sweetness to this lunation. Anyhow, for all of the rest of us, or the rest of you, I should say, along with this new moon in Taurus, there's another specific configuration of planets that is forming quite a bit of pressure and quite a bit of sort of almost like an opportunity to blow the lid off something. So Jupiter has just entered Taurus at 0 degrees of the sign, the very first degree of Taurus. Jupiter is the planet that expands, that grows, that magnifies, that encourages us to go there. When Jupiter is in your first house, there's almost like a magnetism that you might start to feel. You might, for the next, we've got a year, 12 months of this to look forward to for you, Taurus, but there's something about, you might not even have to do anything, but there's something extra specially magnetic or interesting about your ability to attract others. Jupiter at 0 degrees of Taurus will be forming a square with Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius, fixed sign to fixed sign. That's 90 degrees, and that's tension, pressure. And so Pluto, the planet of destruction and regeneration, is in the sign of Aquarius. For you, this is your 10th house. This is your most public self, your career, your legacy, like Sagittarius is for me, for my Pisces rising. And so we're at the beginning point, Taurus, of, if the eclipses weren't challenging enough for you, my darlings, then Pluto in your 10th is going to bring with it a complete rerouting, disintegration and rebirth of your legacy, what you're known for, how you're publicly perceived in this life. I would, if I were you, really start to look forward to this. It's not easy. Any Pluto transit is never easy, but it's worth it. It's really, really worth it. And so I want you to sort of think about this Jupiter energy in your first, this sort of vibrancy, and the lingering, the first whispers of rebirth in your 10th house, what you're known for. The day after this lunation, the planet Mars will be leaving Cancer and entering into Leo. So at 0 degrees of Leo, another fixed sign, fixed fire this time, we have Mars, who kind of loves it in Leo, very brash, but Mars will be opposing Pluto in Aquarius and squaring Jupiter in Taurus. So there's a push and a pull and a friction between your sense of self and individuation, your soul's mission, your home, your roots, your legacy, your ancestry, your place of nurturing and privacy, and your career, your most public self, what you're known for. So I've got the tarot cards that I wanted to show you. So if we consider this card as Jupiter in Taurus, the Five of Pentacles is the first decan of Taurus. And I really love that Jupiter's here to say hello to this kind of thinking, this feeling of being shut out or not quite being enough or being ostracized maybe. This is a tough nut to crack, and this is not your fault. I must say as well, Taurus, this feeling can sometimes be put upon us. And when I look at this card, you can see those pentacles are formed in a stained glass window of what appears to be a church. And so there's no sanctuary for these folks. They're disallowing themselves the comfort of what's inside. We're not sure if that's because they've been told no, they've been cast out, or if they consider themselves not worthy enough. They consider themselves to be infectious, you know. So this is one thing that Jupiter's going to start to really look at for you over the next 12 months, really investigate and start to consider if what you're perhaps sensing about yourself or have to sense about yourself is true or not. And I dare say that we might be proved that it's not so true. The Five of Swords is this Pluto in your 10th house energy, your legacy, your public self. And I can almost see that there's sort of like, you can see these two characters here are walking away from this sparring match. If the swords represent thoughts or the truth, then these two are like, nah, forget it. I almost don't believe what you're telling me, or this is not the way that I do this anymore. I'm moving on. There's no winners in this card. There's a sense of defeat. There's a sense of smugness from this character here. But it's also like, this is, I can feel Pluto there. And Pluto's like, no, we don't do this anymore. Stop this. So if you've been finding it maybe a little bit difficult to sort of like grapple with what's expected of you in the public sphere, if your work has sort of been kind of grinding your gears, you know, and I imagine for a Taurus soul, a Taurus rising, that feeling of like station or like stability in work would be really important for you. And if you're not committed to it anymore, then that can start to feel like the wheels are coming off. That's one thing to think about. The other energy is the Five of Wands. So this is Mars in your home life, your ancestry, your sense of lineage, nurturing, privacy. And so Mars in Leo, very bolshy, very confident, very direct. And it's like there's a push and a pull between what's expected of you publicly, what home life is like. The Five of Wands is definitely a preparatory sort of like resilience training, I would say. But the Wands are magic, and the Wands here are in combat, but it's contained, you know, it's something of like a preparation for things to come rather than a conflict that is severe. And so I kind of have this feeling about, in relationship to your ancestry, your roots, your sort of lineage, there's something that's sort of brewing up inside of you. And in fact, it might even start to inform this revolution of change in your 10th house. I'm not sure what it is that you do for work, Taurus, but there's something about ancestry here that's fighting to get to the surface. And it's being encouraged by Jupiter in Taurus, in your first house, your house of the soul, to strip this feeling away, this feeling of being cast out, left out, kicked out of the group, as Muriel says. You know, this is going to change, and this feeling of like being inadequate is fast about to flip. You've done so well so far, Taurus, to get through these eclipses in your first and your 7th house. And I imagine your relationship zone looks very different than how it used to look. And there's going to be a continuum of this regeneration. I think that you can probably feel it already, but like you're not the only one to feel that things are moving, things are changing. But that's not just sort of linear progress. I wouldn't say it's just about sort of like, you know, get that nose back to the grindstone. In some ways, it feels like the opposite to that. It feels like the revolution is definitely rising and building, but we revolutionize to change. 555 means change. So I want you to really hold that repetition of 5 as meaning change. Things are about to change. As a group with Aquarius and Leo, Aquarius being the sign of the humanitarian and Leo being the sign of the individual, you can see how, not just in your own life, but in the world around you, there is this sense of change occurring or about to occur. I think there's going to be some really bold moves that we all experience, we all witness, and that might actually even inform what it is that we do for a living. My Taurus rising friends, there might be something in you that's sort of like, this is my legacy now, this is what I've got this voice for, this is what I'm going to use it for. So I like this one. I'm feeling, and it's a bit of a pep talk, but I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be really valuable for you, Taurus. I'm going to get some intuitive tarot while we've still got some sand left, and we'll see what Spirit would like to say just to cap this one off. It might even just be one card because there is so much on the table here. Yeah, look at that. Now this has come out before for somebody else, but yeah. It's a great way to wrap this up, I think. This is the 10 of Swords. This is the end of a very, very difficult cycle. I'll say it again. The swords represent our mentality, our thoughts, our access to truth. And so that there's no card after the 10. This is the end, the crescendo. And you can see the pink is the sun rising up again, as the sun tends to do every morning. This is the end of this difficulty for you, Taurus. This is the end of this anguish. And you're going to start to feel really in like finely tuned comfort with Jupiter in Taurus over the next 12 months. There's like, it's almost like a cheerleader for you. I remember when Jupiter was in Pisces a few years ago, it was great. It was a beautiful feeling. I was aware of it, and I was sort of like, I was really letting it sort of, it allowed, Jupiter in my first house in Pisces allowed me to shed some self-consciousness. I was compelled to be myself. I was compelled to share myself with others and to come into greater friendship with my rising sign in particular. So if your sun sign is different to your rising sign and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm being instructed to listen to these Taurus rising readings, but I much more identify with my sun sign, that's completely understandable. I'm structuring these readings rising sign centric because it explains your house system and it doesn't discount or take away from your sun sign in any way. Your sun sign is your personality, your ego, your front-facing part of you that's the most useful. Your rising sign is your soul's rising intention. Think of it that way. Think of it that way, and think of it as a badge of honor. To have the bull as your soul's mission. You've got the Pleiades in your constellation too. Never forget that. In the constellation of Taurus sits the 7 sisters, the Pleiades. Whatever language you want to use, however you read the sky or your ancestors read the sky, those 7 girls are part of your soul's rising intention. Hang on to that, Taurus. On a personality level, we've got beauty and luxury and fine wine, fine dining. On a soul level, we have something incredibly resonant and incredibly open and willing to receive spiritual lessons from our ancestors. So never take that for granted. I adore you. I'm very proud of you. You're doing very well. There will be one more eclipse in Taurus in October because the lunation will be at the beginning of Taurus, back closer to the dragon's head. But we're going to be fine. We're going to get there. That's it. I'll speak to you in 2 weeks for the Sagittarius full moon. You can get your birth chart read by me at umaruby.com. Tips are always welcome at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. And if you'd like to join me in Zoom live ritual for the next full moon, then register your interest via the link in the description. Much love to you, Taurus. I'm proud of you. You take care. Hello Hello Virgo rising, welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Now before I tip the sand, I want to invite you to ritual. In 2 weeks there's going to be a full moon in Sagittarius, and for me this lights up my 10th house of my career and my public face, and so I thought it really valuable to invite you to a bit of story time. I'm going to be hosting a ritual on Zoom where we call in the powers of the full moon and we release together what is no longer desired nor required. And I'm going to take you on a little story through what led me to this point in my life, what careers, multiple, plural, I've had in this life, and what I learned through all of them in order to find myself at this place where this is the language that I have been willing to share all this time and in times gone by. So if that sounds good to you, if you wanted to join me in ritual, there's a link in the description below where you can register, and I'll be emailing you the Zoom link. So yeah, with that said, let's go into the reading for this Taurus new moon. So this is like a clearing, isn't it? We've been having eclipses in Taurus and in Scorpio for the past 18 months or so. There's been a real sort of like push and a pull and a friction between our locale, our home, our environment, our neighborhood, and our sort of more prophetic aspirations, how we wish to sort of expand our mind and our expertise. And I imagine it might be sort of without like a stable home base, or without like a village that you feel welcome in, a neighborhood that feels like home to you. It's kind of hard to sort of be so bold and to sort of try and journey out and expand the mind and learn new things, especially with these eclipses, sort of pulling the power here, pulling the power there. But at this new moon, the sun and the moon are further enough away from the dragon's head that there's no eclipse, there's no interference. And so rather than sort of just like sitting back and allowing things to shed or to show up, we get to be good little witches and we get to ask for it. We get to work with the energy that's left here on this planet, and we get to think about our 9th house, our house of philosophy, astrology, publishing, expanding the mind, traveling, journeying, taking the pilgrimage, right? This is within your power to make wishes on at this new moon. And quite literally I can probably see eclipses in this house over the last 18 months, traveling plans made and failed, or red herrings as far as your neighborhood. So I'll set up shop here. Oh, fuck no, not working out. I'll set up shop here. Oh, bugger it. No, I can't do that. I want to engage in this sort of coursework or start this writing project. There's no time. I can't. I've got to get other things sorted out. That's all great and completely understandable. This moon is yours to work with. And not only is there a new moon in Taurus at this time, also Uranus is there, as always, being kind of gently revolutionary about the whole thing, wanting you to revitalize your perspective on philosophy. But also Jupiter has just entered as well. At 0 degrees of Taurus sits Jupiter. And the planet of optimism and expansion and hope and faith, which is probably really good energy for the 9th house, I might say, my Virgo risings. There's a square being played out between Jupiter at 0 degrees in Taurus and Pluto at 0 degrees in Aquarius. And so this is your 6th house of your daily rhythm and routine and your ritual and your health, your body, your physicality. So this, as I have said before in other readings, this is we're at the very beginning edge of rebuilding, a disintegration and a restructuring of your daily rhythm, how you spend a day. And this optimism from Jupiter, this pull into your 9th house of expanding the mind, of traveling, of journeying around, opening things up. Can you see the story that's being painted there? It's sort of like, okay, is this a rut that I'm stuck in? Then Jupiter's encouraging you to suck out of that rut, and to maybe follow those courseworks or that line of thinking, that line of inquiry, or take that trip, that pilgrimage, which is different from like sort of, like a gorgeous weekend away or a Kentucky tour. This is much more loaded with intent, I might say. If there's a spiritual trip that you need to take, or a journey back to your ancestral lands that you need to take, but for a purpose that has something to do with your identity, and kind of like staking some sort of claim in that lineage, or deflecting away from that lineage, then now might be the time that you can start making those wishes. The other aspect that's coming into play is Mars, the day after this new moon, the planet of sort of retaliation and aggression. Mars is leaving Cancer and entering into Leo. So at 0 degrees, it'll be in direct opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. So that's tense, fruitful, but tense, and will be squaring with Jupiter. And so on your birth chart, Virgo rising, Leo rules your 12th house, which is your access to the unconscious mind, to a liminal space between reality and fantasy, your dreamland. It's very private in the 12th, but I think with Mars in Leo there's a fire that's starting to be built in the 12th. And you can see that relationship between the 9th of philosophy, astrology, mind expansion, pilgrimage, quest, and the 12th, which is like psychedelic hippie vibes. I think you can probably start to take your interests a little bit more seriously at this new moon, Virgo, and kind of recognize that what you've got to offer, or what you wish to hope to learn to be able to offer, is at your fingertips. This rut, maybe, of the 6th house, or this sort of like routine, this rhythm, is being jolted by Pluto. Pluto for the next 20 years is going to be like, nope, try again, nope, try again, nope, try again. You're good at the 6th. You kind of love the 6th, Virgo. You're good at sort of like, the rules, or the series of events that need to occur in order to achieve X. You're really good at that. But apply some of that to parts of your life that maybe are urging you to expand a little bit, to sort of show up in different cosmic ways. If you're kind of reluctant to think that you've got the language yet, then this is the new moon to make active plans to start learning, to find the teachers that you trust and that you want to learn from, and go with them and learn from them. I'm going to show you these tarot cards because I've been reading from these same tarot cards for everyone, but obviously different houses. And I'm just pretty chuffed about, the ability of storytelling to flip the script a bit. But let's have a look. So Jupiter in Taurus, in your 9th house, is the 5 of Pentacles. Now think about this card in direct relationship with your 9th house. Now I understand a reluctance, and this is something I can probably be really honest with you about this, Virgo rising. If you've had an experience in life with organized systems of religion or organized systems of faith-based practice, there's a real reluctance to try and engage in anything else. If you've been taken advantage of by sort of hierarchy structures, or if you've been taken advantage of by kind of, judged or ostracized by commandments in some form or another of religious practice, it might be really kind of not your thing to want to engage in sort of learning anything too spiritually based. Or if you've got a real interest for it and you've got a real calling to it, and you have been privately, quietly learning as much as you can, you might be really reluctant to start putting it out there because you're like, well, I don't want to be a friggin' guru. I don't want to be one of those, folks that are high in their own supply and end up, enslaving a township. Sign on the bottom line. You don't want that. But this, like, the reality is, Virgo, that you've had these experiences with organized structures of religion to double down, to galvanize you in your intention that you won't behave in these ways, and that you'll be savvy to who you can trust and who you can't trust. Faith is a really difficult thing to quantify if you're queer identifying like I am. That's a whole can of worms. You don't even have to be, though. Like, we all have damage, these systems that stole pagan traditions, pilfered off them, but then enslaved the populace. Like, this is ancient stuff. We're all kind of still reeling from the destructive qualities of these mega rich organized systems of religion. And this isn't to say that it's not any faith in particular. I think that every faith is valid. Absolutely, it really is. But it's the structure in which this faith is preached that is the problem. And if the structure is based on some sense of hierarchy or some sense of, guru at the top, it can't work out like that. It can't work. There's so much room for, manipulation and for folks to be taken advantage of. It's not of no interest to you, Virgo, and you don't keep, and you'll do it too. Like, you're a Virgo, you'll keep on your back. You'll be like, you check yourself. Are you, slipping out into the ether? Are you a little bit high on your own supply, Virgo? But you'll always ask yourself that, so you don't have to worry about being one of them. I've got the Hermit card here, but this is your little champion. Like, this is the essence of your spiritual practice, really. All Virgos have the Hermit in them. The Hermit is the wise one that steals away to open the portal to receive spiritual lessons, to alchemize them into some sense or semblance of reality, to bring it to the ground in that beautiful, malleable, earthy way that you have. So that's how I consider your 9th house. I would be a bit easier on myself if the niggling feelings of like, oh, okay, all right, guru, all right, is there going to be a priesthood now? All of that. Yeah, like, you're not out to enslave anyone, Virgo. You're just trying to help with the philosophies that you're learning and the outlook on life that you're, have accumulated over time. If there's a journey that you're willing to take or wanting to take back to a homeland, this new moon would be the one to really lock into that too. You can set your intention at this Taurus new moon for that journey, because that's probably going to be a really powerful one as well. If you've been away from your homeland for a long time because of these eclipses or otherwise, but to make the journey back, that's going to bear some fruit. And that's probably going to, maybe some conversations can be opened up about your relationship with organised religion so far, possibly. What I have here is the 5 of Swords in your 6th house. So this is that busting away from the grind. If the daily rhythm, if you've been just ground down, then you can take the energy of this 5 of Swords and be these ones. Like, nah, forget it. Drop my sword. I'm out of here. This is not worth it. I don't do this anymore. I'm not engaging in this petty sparring match, And the other card that I've got here is the 5 of Wands. So 555, change, Virgo. Things are going to change for all of us, I reckon. I can really feel it. But 5 of Wands in your 12th house, your sort of liminal, psychedelic, trippy vibe, Mars in Leo, it's sort of like we're preparing for something. The 5 of Wands is like preparatory practice, practicing the battlefield, practicing the, casting the spells, practicing the magical work. I'd take myself a little bit more seriously if I were you, Virgo. And, please translate, I use words like magic, I use words, I translate the essence of what I'm saying to fit your scenario too. You don't have to be interested in the esoteric so much. But as far as you're like, if there's this feeling of like 12th house unconscious, what the hell am I here for? I know what I'm here for unconsciously. It's a compulsion. I have to do it. then Mars in your 12th is like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You need to put these swords down, and you need to forget about this for a minute. Break the binds of this grind, and you need to stop feeling like such a degenerate, because you're absolutely not. You're welcome in this safe space. You're welcome in this sanctuary. You're welcome in these halls of academia to learn. You're smart enough. You're not an idiot. You're really smart, Virgo. Smarter than most of us. Ruled by Mercury. Never forget that. Mercury is the planet that brings the message from the heavens, from the stratosphere, from the universe. They bring those messages, and Virgo takes them and makes them into something that we can like touch and feel. You know, it's real. You're not bullshitting. You're not making it up. Holy dooly. God, these are the readings today. I think it's nice. We've had so many friggin' eclipses. We've had so much sort of that we've felt like it's been out of our control. You know, it felt so out of control for so long. You know, not everyone needs control. Some people like to be completely loose and out of control, not looking at anyone in particular, bioscience. But you get rocked by that, Virgo. A bit of like grounding and a bit of security is what you kind of need, and life hasn't been so secure lately, eclipses or not, you know. But this is the doorway into a sense of security and application. You're going to apply yourself, Virgo, and you're going to do really beautiful, great things. Love you very much. I didn't get any intuitive tarot, but, you know, that's how these readings are going. I think that these cards are really, you know, they're speaking to me tonight. So these are the messages. Head to umaruby.com, get your birth chart read by me. I can't wait to meet you if I haven't met you already. There's a fire, water, air, or earth reading. There's also a spirit reading if you are wanting to really delve deeper into the significations of your rising sign from an esoteric standpoint. You can send me some tip money at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. And if you'd like to join me in ritual for the Sagittarius full moon in 2 weeks on June the 4th, then register your interest via the link in the description below, and you'll be sent a Zoom link, and we can gather together and have a little bit of story time and welcome in the full moon together. Much love to you. I'll speak to you soon. I'll be releasing horoscopes for that full moon too. So if you can't make it, don't worry. I'll be here with some messages as well. Take care. Bye.